Welcome to Fractions Part 5 in the purple pages. If you haven't noticed, all the borders are different colors. That keeps Mrs. Gary knows which one is next. We will work on fractions all of this week except for Friday. We'll be doing the calendar and we'll have one last fractions activity next week. And then we have some fun geometry stuff to do. We're going to start off with a whole here, and we're going to talk about fraction comparison strips as we go through today. One whole is partitioned into 6 parts that are equal parts. So let's go ahead and do that first. And get those up there so you can see them. And these are, we've talked about fraction strips and folding. This is a different way that we're going to do it now. And we call these fraction comparison strips. I'm just going to let it run because we're going to get all of them. There's 4/6. 3/6. If you haven't already, while it's running and getting all of the things, the pictures up for us, make sure you have your fractions packet because you're going to need it and a pencil. And there's 1/6. So when we have a whole, remember that we divide it into parts, and our parts have to be equal parts, or you cannot compare. You can't call them fractions, number one, and you can't compare. So when our denominators are the same, we compare our numerators, and we use our regular comparison of greater than or less than. 6 is bigger than 5, is bigger than 4, is bigger than 3, is bigger than 2, and is bigger than 1. But that only works if your denominators are the same and you have partitioned it into that many equal parts. Fraction can always be composed or decomposed. Decomposed means taken apart. Composed means, of course, to build it. For example, here's our whole. And I have 1/6 and 5/6. So if I want to continue that, you'll see I'm composing and decomposing. Let me go back to that one, I'm sorry. So when I'm talking about composing, that means that I am adding the parts together. So 1/6 and 5/6 makes 6/6. That's composing or putting all the parts together. Decomposing is where I'm subtracting. So if I had 6/6 and I took away 1/6, I would get 5/6. So here I'm adding 2 and 4, 3 and 3, 4 and 2, 5 and 1. 5 take away 1, 4 take away 2, 3 take away 3, 2 take away 4, 1 take, and you can't do 5 take away, sorry, you can't do those two. Gary knows that. 4 take away 2, 5 take away 1. So composing is to put together equal parts. Decomposing is to take apart in equal parts. Remember, fractions are equivalent if they represent the same size whole. And we've done that with shapes. Here's shapes again, as well as fraction strips. So this is not the same because this is much bigger than this. Now this is 4/6. This is 4/6. These are the same shapes, but they are not equal because they are not equal size parts. So just because you draw two shapes and split it into the same number of parts, you have to remember they have to take up the same amount of space. So in this case, you can't say 4/6 equals 4/6 because this 6 and this 6 are not the same space. All right, now these are the same size whole. So 1/2 and 3/6 in this case are equal because this and this are the same size. I've just carved this into more spaces. all of which are the same size, so 1/2 and 3/6 are equal, or you know that is equivalent. Here's another example using trapezoids and triangles. Same size whole, 2/3 and 4/6 are equal because they take up the same amount of space. What happens if two hexagons represent one whole? Notice how I have them connected. So this all the way around the outside is one whole. This is not two, it is one. And then I'm going to break it up with 6 rhombuses here. And we're going to talk about how this is 12 triangles to cover one whole, 6 rhombuses to cover one whole. So this would be 6 over 6, 12 over 12. And we're going to say 6, 6 equals 12, 12 equals 1. Yep, 6, 6 equals 12, 12 equals 1. So let's get your practice pages out, and let's find the part where we have some hexagons, and we're going to shade them in with our pencils. You can also use crayons or colored pencils if you want to. And in this one, we're going to do a half, so we're going to draw a line across here, and we're going to color in the top or the bottom, and that will make it a half. This one we're going to split into 2/3, and that's that rhombus. So you're going to draw, you can go back and look at the screens. It's hard for me to describe, and color in 2 of them. 3/6 is easier. You're going to draw a line across here. Oops, I went too far. Draw your line across, and then do your 3 triangles at the top and color those in. Those are each 1, 2, 3, 6. And this one's supposed to be 4, 6. I'm going to draw a line across here, and you would draw 3 triangles at the top, and then you would draw 3 triangles at the bottom, and you would color in 1, 2, 3, 4. Then after you get those shaded in, you're going to do an equal sign greater than or less than in the box between the fractions to complete the equations. So if I were comparing 1/2 and 2/3, I would know that 1/2 is greater than 2/3. If I were comparing 2/3 and 3/6, again, 3/6 and 1/2 is the same, so 2/3 is greater than 3/6. If I were comparing 1/2 and 3/6, I know they are equal. If you look at 4/6 and 2/3, you will see that they are also equal. 1/2 is less than 4/6 because 4/6 is equal to 2/3, and 2/3 is greater than 1/2. So 1/2 is less than 4/6. And this one's the easy one. We looked at those fraction strips earlier. The denominators are the same, so I simply compare the top. 3 is less than 4. So 3/6 is less than 4/6. And that should be, yep, it for today.